What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. So before I get into this video, I want to give a shout out to BG, all right, for showing love to the channel. Much respect to BG for showing love with this donation via the Cash App. Thank you for supporting this channel. And I also want to thank you for signing up to the Patreon. I really, truly appreciate you signing up to the Patreon and showing love over there. And I hope you enjoy the content over there. And I do take requests for videos. And I also want to thank Tupac Expert for showing love by signing up to the Patreon as well. I've known Tupac Expert on YouTube maybe longer than anybody else that I've interacted with, at least since 2010. That's how long I've known Tupac Expert. Back when we used to have on YouTube the little message box and shit where you could actually interact with people before, they said, oh, we need to see what these people are talking about on here. And they did away with that. But yeah, much respect to him for showing love by signing to the Patreon. And I can't stress this enough. YouTube is cracking down on what we can talk about on here in a lot of ways. Oftentimes we got to talk in code, which I don't like doing. I just don't. Like we're mobsters and shit. Yeah, see? A little guy with the ball. Yeah, Rocky. The little guy, see? Yeah. He's not going to take the hit, see? Yeah. The stubborn little bastard. That's what we're going to do, see? Yeah. We're going to put the squeeze on him, see? So what we're going to do is we're going to take half his lucra. Yeah. By taking the squeeze on him, so we can get him to squeal. You think it'll wake, Rocky? This guy's a hard nut to crack. We'll see, Louie. We'll see. Meow, 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 meow. As a kid, man, I used to hate censorship, man, and I still do. I used to hate watching Smokey and the Bandit on goddamn USA Network or TBS. That motherfucker went on HBO or Cinemax. I didn't watch it. Scumbum. Get out of here. What the hell is that? That's not what Buford T. Justice said. That ain't what he said. He said, I saw that, you some bitch! You did that on purpose! You're going away to your grave! Junior, put the evidence in the car! But Daddy, put the evidence in the goddamn car! Ain't no goddamn way you come from my loins. When we get home, I'm gonna punch your mama in the goddamn mouth. I like to hear uncensored. I like to hear what was actually said. Don't censor shit for me. I want to hear the joke in its entirety. I want to hear what was actually said. So anyway, let me get out of this nonsense and talk about this video. All right. So last year was the penultimate appearance of Barry Bonds and Roger Clemens. All right, on the Hall of Fame ballot, and also Curt Schilling appeared on the ballot as well. None of these men reached the required 75% threshold to be inducted into the Hall of Fame. And time is running out. Now, I can't remember where Schilling ended up. I think he was at 70%, which was just short. And a lot of people thought he was going to get that 75%, and he didn't. I think Roger Clemens was at 61%. I think Barry Bonds at 62%. Now that's a lot better than where they've been over the last several years. The problem is this is the second to last appearance that they're going to be on the ballot. After next year, if they don't reach the 75% threshold, Clemens and Bonds drops off. They will drop off the ballot. Um, and I don't see Bonds and Clemens making up that much of a deficit. I'm just guessing here. I think they can get up into the upper 60s, but I still think they're going to miss that threshold. They're going to need a huge surge to get in on the ballot. But it doesn't end everything for them. They still have a shot, and most likely I think it's going to happen, but it's going to be some years from now as we get more and more removed from the quote unquote steroid era. I think what's going to happen is they're going to be inducted by the Veterans Committee. All right, the Veterans Committee exclusively focus on players from the past, and I think 2007 is too recent, and I can't remember what the minimum years are as far as distance, but let's just say it's 20. So years from now, I think the Veterans Committee will look at Barry Bonds' career. They'll look at Roger Clemens' career, and if Curt Schilling doesn't get in, and I can't remember how many more years Curt Schilling's on the ballot, but he requested to be taken off. But eventually, I think Curt Schilling will get in too. Um, to me, the Veterans Committee are less biased. They focus on what you actually accomplished, and I think they'll all three of these guys will get in. Now, you got to ask yourself, why is it that they're not being put into the Hall of Fame? With Curt Schilling, it has nothing to do with steroids. He's not tied to steroids. It's because of his political beliefs. He's ultra right wing. Okay, ultra right wing. Do I agree with his political positions? No. Um, for the most part, uh, you know, should that be holding him back from being inducted into Cooperstown? No. Um, look, do we talk about politics too much in this goddamn country? Yes. Uh, but when you look at the Hall of Fame, does it really make any sense for the writers and the voters? I guess I should say the voters to keep Curt Schilling out of the Hall of Fame because they don't like his political beliefs, but yet you have people in the Hall of Fame that are wife beaters. You have people in the Hall of Fame who are racist, KKK members, uh, you know, white supremacists, people in the Hall of Fame who are or were known drunkards, people in the Hall of Fame who were suspected murderers. Okay. So someone explain that to me. How you can keep someone out because of their political beliefs. Now, it's pretty much well known that the majority of the writers, if you took a poll, the writers, the journalists, probably lean a little left in their political beliefs. So are they punishing Curt Schilling? I believe so. Because I believe that if Curt Schilling was ultra left in his beliefs, I think he would have been in the Hall of Fame long ago. He doesn't have the greatest resume, but he has a resume very sufficient to be in the Hall of Fame. And when you look at people who are getting in now, a lot of these people that get into the Hall of Fame, they're just very good players. Yeah, it really makes it look pathetic. But let me get to the meat and potatoes of this argument. That's Roger Clemens and Barry Bonds. Roger Clemens has is possibly the most dominant. He's probably the most dominant pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball. Okay, 4,600 career strikeouts, over 4,600. Only Nolan Ryan and Randy Johnson had 354 career wins. All right, that's more, if I'm not mistaken, than both Randy Johnson and Nolan Ryan. He had a career 3.12 ERA, which is better than the most unhittable pitcher in baseball history, Nolan Ryan. And he had two career 20 strikeout performances. Two. The only man to do it more than one time out of a handful of players who did it. Kerry Wood did it. And I think someone else did it. Kerry Wood did it back in 1998. And one other guy, Randy Johnson, I think. Randy Johnson. But Nolan Ryan did it two times, 1986 and 1996. Uh, Nolan, Roger Clemens won a record 7 Cy Young Awards. Seven. Think about that. And it would have been 8. He should have won another one in 2005. So this guy is, to me, the most dominant pitcher in the history of Major League Baseball. So why is he not in the Hall of Fame? Well, because of suspected steroid use. Suspected steroid use. People suspect that he did it. The Mitchell report says he did, but there's no clear-cut evidence to show that he used steroids. Even when you look at him physically, Roger Clemens always was a big burly guy. You know what I'm saying? He was never a skinny beanpole guy, and he never developed some hulking physique. So physically, he's not a guy where you look at him like, oh, see, there go the physical evidence. No. And even with that, you still don't have the proof. But what I do see is a guy who was phenomenal, absolutely phenomenal in his career, and it's like holding out. It's like not having Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in the Hall of Fame because you suspect that he did it, but you don't have the proof. It's bullshit. Leads me to Barry Bonds. Barry Bonds. It's funny with Barry Bonds how he was whiteballed out of baseball. This is a guy that's he's probably arguably the most accomplished offensive player. It's funny, you have the greatest offensive player arguably and the greatest pitcher all not in the Hall of Fame. And it makes the Hall of Fame look ridiculous. Barry Bonds, I think, won, what, 2 batting titles with San Francisco. Um, he holds the single season and career home run record. He holds the record for walks, and you know, I think he holds the record for runs, or he's second. Can't remember, but I know he holds the record for walks. Um, and there's another thing, man. Uh, he has 7, if I'm not mistaken, 7 MVP awards. 7, 7, and like the same argument I make for Clemens, he should have won the MVP award when they gave it to Terry Pendleton. I think Terry Pendleton for the Braves, I think it was 91. He should have won it then. Or was it 92? One of those 2 years. He should have won it then. Okay? So this guy has 7 MVPs. And people like to say, well, okay, look, he got so much bigger, and that's the proof. He did get a lot bigger. And look, do I suspect that he did steroids? I suspected he did it. You know, I think he was looking at lesser players like Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa getting all of this praise, all of this adulation, all of these lucrative endorsements, by the way. And he was by far a greater player. So he said to himself, okay, possibly, if you think what they're doing is something, but get a load of me. But I can't prove that. I cannot prove that he used steroids. Well, look, only an imbecile would say that he didn't. Well, prove it to me. Prove it to me that he used steroids. All we can, he can say, look, I worked my ass off to put this muscle on. I worked like crazy. I did fucking goddamn Jerry Rice type shit workouts to put all this muscle on in his advanced age. And I can't prove that he's lying. And another thing that's a lie too is that he put on 30 pounds of muscle in one off season. That's bullshit. Barry Bonds, when he was a rookie, weighed 176 pounds, right? 1986. By 1987, he weighed 185 pounds. All right. By 1991, he weighed 191 pounds. By 1993, he was 205 pounds. So by then, he was already 26 pounds heavier than he was in 1986. This is a guy that was naturally getting bigger. He wasn't using steroids then at all. There was no suspicion of that. 1993, he had 46 home runs. He led the National League in home runs. Does that get forgotten? That he led the National League in home runs in 1993? In 1994, had it not been for the strike, he would have hit 40 home runs again. In 1996, he hit 40, I believe, 42 home runs. In 1997, he hit 40. So this is a guy that was displaying phenomenal power before all of that. And then in 1990, in 2000, he hit 49 home runs. So people make it seem like he hit 10, 10, 10, 15, 10, 10, 10, 18, 10, and all 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, 10, and then 73 all in one. No. Come on. Stop with the bullshit narratives. Cut it out. Look, I could be a porn star with the hardest dick you've ever seen, right? And my peers, right, could be like, hey man, that's some bullshit, man. And this nigga fucking goddamn, all these goddamn bitches, this nigga did 10 scenes today. Man, he's 41 years old, man. He know that nigga using Viagra. You know it. But you never see me take Viagra. Hey, what's your secret, Biggie Draws? Well, it's just genetics, you know. You gotta take care of yourself. I work out 3 times a day. I eat well. And I just got to chalk it up to genetics. My old father, my old man, they called him Baby Wilt. Man, fuck that shit, man. This nigga taking all the scenes. This nigga using steroids. This nigga using Viagra. I know he using Viagra. But basically what I'm saying is I chalk it up to jealousy with a lot of these people, man, as to why they hate on Barry Bonds. Look, remember this. This point I'm going to make about Barry Bonds if I end. Remember, Barry Bonds is so evil, right? So dastardly. Remember how he was encroaching upon Hank Aaron's record and they were like stopping normal programming to show all of his at bats as he crept closer and closer and closer. number 748 on his pursuit for Bonds for Hank Aaron's record. And they use all of that for ratings, right? And then immediately, this is what Major League Baseball is fucked up to me. They whiteballed him. After that year, they had no use for him. He got the record. He couldn't sign with any team. There was all of this speculation because he was 42 at the time, I think. 42, almost 43, or 43. But he still could play. A little bit past his prime, but he still was a hitter. He still could have played. That's another thing, too. Bonds never got to have that Tom Brady type career because he got whiteballed. He still could play. I remember there was speculation. Hey, man, can you imagine what Barry Bonds could do in Yankee Stadium with that right field, that little porch on the left, on the right hand side as a left-handed hitter? You know how many home runs he could hit in Yankee Stadium with that short fence? I think it's only 300 feet, as opposed to big ass fucking San Francisco. But nobody magically wanted Barry Bonds. Nobody. Guy hit 30 home runs as a 43-year-old player, but nobody wanted him. He became a pariah. And he was forced into retirement. People forget this. Barry Bonds didn't just say, after that year, hey, I'm retiring as a player. No. He kept wanting, he kept working out, he kept wanting to play, but he saw that teams didn't want him for some odd particular reason, and therefore he announced his retirement years later, like 2010, I think. So yeah, um, Bonds could have, man. I'm telling you, he could have broken so many. He could have broken all the records. He could have hit. I think he could have kept playing till he was 46, 47 years old. I think he could have had 850 home runs. I think he could have fucking had like at least 3,400 hits, the runs record, uh, the RBI record. He would have had all of that shit. But that's pretty much all I got to say, man. Another thing too, a lot of people in the media don't like these two. That also plays a factor. Don't ever think they don't play a factor. Curt Schilling was not popular with the media at all. He didn't like them. Barry Bonds damn sure wasn't popular with the media. And Roger Clemens could be flippant with the media. He could tell those guys to fuck off. Get out my face. Respect my privacy. I don't feel like talking to you motherfuckers. I'm telling you, a lot of these people are very savvy when it comes to media. That's why Draymond Green is very savvy with. I'll give him this. I think he's an overrated fucking player and he doesn't deserve to be in the Hall of Fame. But he's very skilled, political level skill when it comes to the media. When you're very popular with them, when you're accessible to them, when you kiss their ass, when you develop congenial relationships with them, and ultimately when you become one of them, as Draymond Green is probably going to do eventually, that's going to help you in the long run if you play ball with these motherfuckers. But that's all I got to say. Tell me what you guys think.